Get ready to amplify your light and shine bright because it's about to get real. Join Spencer Jones, the Prince of Positivity, and get energized with this episode of the Jonesin For Show. Let's go! Hey, Energizer. Welcome to the Jonesin For Show. I am pumped up to have you here today because, well, frankly, we have an amazing guest here ready to awe you with his amazing abilities. Well, I'll tell you, he's just an amazing guy, right? He's an amazing guy, he's a freaking amazing person who's doing incredible things in the world and helping people live their life to the max and keeping us safe as United States, as Americans, right? He's keeping all of us, that was a horrible way to say that. He's keeping all of us safe and sound. So that's amazing. And I am just so happy to get to know him. We got to know each other a little bit over 6 months ago, 8 months ago, something like that. We started to get to know each other a little bit, had some great conversations. And finally, we were able to get him on the show when we rebooted season 2. And I just had this amazing connection with him once we started chatting and all the stuff he's doing that I'm like, we have to have him on and share his wisdom and energy with all of you. So without further ado, please help me welcome Wes Woodhouse to the Jonesin For Show. Welcome, Wes.
Spencer, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'm energized just by being here with you. This is awesome.
Love it. Even with a botched up intro, I'm not going to redo that. It's what it is. But oh my gosh, I'm so happy to have you here. And thank you for your service and helping us stay safe and keeping us safe along not only in the military, but with our mindsets and all that. We'll go down that rabbit hole. Oh my gosh. I'm going to get a sip of coffee while Wes tells us about himself so you get to know him. Wes, it's yours. I need coffee apparently, so it's all yours.
You drink your coffee. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be talking to you guys. I am an officer in the Air Force. I get to fly fighter jets, which is awesome. It was my childhood dream. So I fly the F-15. I'm in an operational test squadron right now. And one of the projects that we're working on is in optimizing the human weapon system is what we call it. So optimizing human performance. I also have been doing a deep dive into human attention, what that looks like. I run a mastermind on the side. It's a group of guys who are looking for accountability, discipline, and wise counsel in their lives. And I think masterminds are awesome because it just enriches everybody's lives. We have our own personal board of directors, but I've been married to my wife for coming up on 10 years. It'll be a decade this summer, which is exciting. Got 2 little kiddos and a dog. So living here in Las Vegas, and it's been great. I love it. Las Vegas, actually, we moved here 3 years ago, and it's been growing on us. So it's definitely an interesting culture here, but we like it.
That's awesome, and congratulations on 10 years. That's so amazing.
It is.
And yeah, Las Vegas, I visited years and years ago. I know Katie and I want to go there and just hang out and be tourists for a couple days. Maybe we'll be able to meet up and get something to eat together and meet your family.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. Let me know.
Yeah, definitely.
That is one of the other great things about Las Vegas is everybody tends to travel to Las Vegas at some point or another. So there's no shortage of people coming through. Actually, just this afternoon, I've got a good friend from the Northeast who's coming through, and we're going to get some lunch or something. So
that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, it's cool when you're the destination, right? You're
right. Exactly.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, and a couple things I just want to touch on is you said masterminds, right? You lead your own mastermind group and that you have a personal board of directors. And I personally think that's huge. I'm part of 3 masterminds, 2 more or less masterminds, and like 1 brotherhood. One mastermind's co-ed, it's business, personal growth, and all that stuff. One is just a small group of 4 men, including me. And just to have that group is amazing. We meet weekly to help each other out when we're struggling, successes, get clarity on things. And another one is the Outpost Men's Group. But all of those groups help me feel like I've been seen, heard, and felt, understood, and can point out the clarity when I'm struggling with it. And I get to pour into others. So people pour into me, I get to pour into others. And that's amazing. And within those groups, I developed my own personal board of directors. Now, I know what that is. But I remember when I first heard it, I was like, what in the world is that? Like, I kind of guess, but I'm not sure. How do you describe a personal board of directors?
So the function of a board of directors for a business is to ensure that the business is going in the direction that it's supposed to be, to hold the C-suite executives in accountable for what decisions they're making, to mentor the leadership of the company, and then to provide them with wisdom and counsel when there's a big decision point. And that's exactly what it is, just on a personal level. The mastermind provides me, and I'm guessing for you too, from what you've just said, some of those same things. Accountability. When they've known me for many years now at this point, and when I start to veer off the path, or I have the squirrel syndrome, and I'm like, oh, I need to go work on this, and they are good about calling me out on that and being like, hey dude, no, that's not in line with your long-term goals. So unless you're changing directions, are you changing directions? And I'm like, no. Then they're all right, let's steer you back onto the straight and narrow that'll get you towards your goals, and stop distracting yourself with anything else. So there's that accountability. When I have a big decision coming up recently, for my military career, we had the decision of where are we going to try to take our next assignment. We get some of a choice. Needs of the Air Force is usually what takes precedent, but do we stay in the United States? Do we try and get an overseas assignment? Do we try to stay here at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas? And I can bring that decision to my guys and lay it all on the table, and then that in their experiences, they can give me some insight and some wisdom into knowing me and where I want to go, asking me questions. Usually they bring up plenty of things that I haven't thought about. Usually I bring it to the table. I'm like, all right, I'm pretty sure I know what decision I'm going to go with. But then they'll ask me those questions, and it makes me sit back and really think about it. It's like, man, I hadn't thought of that. That's a great point. And you're absolutely right. I'm thinking down the wrong path, at least in this area. And so I'll at least be jolted and able to rethink the decision in a different light. None of them are making decisions for me. I'm still making all my own decisions, but they are giving me tools, different perspectives, and insight into that decision. And I think it's powerful because once you have had a relationship with your mastermind people for a fair amount of time, for me it's been many years. I'm in two masterminds, one of them that I run and one of them that I'm in, and these guys have known me for 2, 3, some of them I've known for a long time, and so they have the full history on me, which is good, and sometimes it's painful because they're like they know me well enough that they can really ask the right question and give me the punch in the pants when I need it. But that's the biggest value for me is I get good accountability. I get wise counsel from people that I trust, and they're this is the interesting thing about it, is they care about me, and your guys care about you, Spencer, but they are also not at all vested into any of the decisions that I make. If I make one decision or another, they are completely not affected by it. So they're in that way, they are the third party that has no buy-in at all, and their only buy-in is that they give me counsel and accountability, and I do the same for them, which I think is kind of the magic of a mastermind group. What are some of your experiences, Spencer?
Oh, I totally agree with everything you said, and similar experiences. I could go to them with everything and anything. Especially my smaller men's group, right, where we have 4 of us, and one of them we've been having almost weekly calls between our groups and little different ones for 2.5 years almost now. And so that's been amazing. Another one's just been over a year, and we just added one other brother to it, which is amazing to make it that 4. And it's just, you can go with them anything with personal stuff going on in your life and your marriage, the struggles you're having. You can go with finances. You can go with the business decisions. What assignment am I going to request for those types of things, or for like my business? Oh, what about Jonesin For Academy? I'm thinking about this, or we're thinking about doing this. What are your guys' thoughts? And then they're not making the decision for you at all. The decision's all yours. They're not vested in it at all, except for the sake they want to see you succeed and reach your goals and dreams and support you. but they, you can pick one or the other. They're still going to love you. They're still going
Right.
to be there for you. So for me, the experience I had once I started having that board of directors, that mastermind of people who are in my life, I've experienced a lot more joy, a lot more
Yeah.
like happiness, but then deeper down, that deep joy in life and fulfillment, because they've kept me on the straight and narrow. They've asked me amazing. It's also been hard at times because like you, they know where to hit you when time is right and ask you those questions that make you just stop and go, oh, I didn't think about it like that. What about this? Again, they're not making the decision for you. They're just offering you different points of view, different perspectives, so you can make the best decision possible. And ever
Hmm.
since I've had them in my life, it seems like my life has grown with the joy, with the happiness, and with the impact that we're going for in my life and business has grown exponentially because of it.
You mentioned joy, and I think that's 100% a good description, because it, in a way, it takes away the stress of the unknown, because now they are giving you a little bit more of a look into what you don't know. And so that kind of bottom line stress kind of starts to go away, because you're no longer second guessing and going around, maybe, there's got to be something I haven't thought of. No, there's probably still, a couple things that you haven't thought of, but largely they are going to help bring those blind spots up for you. And that just enriches the entire experience and takes down, gives more confidence in the decisions that you're making and knowing that you're on the right path. Yeah, I 100% agree.
So let me ask you this. How does one find a board of directors? And we can each share our sides of it if you like, but I would love to hear how you, okay, you started a mastermind, but how do you find it? If I've never had a mastermind or a board of directors before, this is a brand new concept. Who do I find? Is it my best friend? Is it my spouse? Is it my pastor? Who's on this board of directors?
For me, the group that I run, it's a group of two of them are guys that I've known. One of them was from college, and one of them I've known since high school. So I've known these guys for a while. And I had, so the first mastermind that I joined, I heard about it from a podcast. The leader of the podcast of the mastermind has been on a bunch of podcasts, and I heard about him there. And that kind of brought credibility to him and his story. And so I also agreed with a lot of his core values. And so I looked into it and eventually joined. And it's been a great thing. And I'm still a part of that group. The one that I started, it was, like I said, it was a handful of friends, and then some of their really close friends. And I think it's key, your spouse serves at a certain level this function, but it's a different type of relationship, because, like we were talking about, your spouse is going to be fully vested in any decisions that you're making, and so that adds they should absolutely be a part of the decision and absolutely a part of accountability and the wisdom, and my wife Kate definitely is, but it's it kind of, because they are so vested, it gives them a different perspective. They're not looking at me and my decisions from a non interested party, if you will, because they are, completely interested. Pastors is probably down the same line, but again, they are kind of more focused into their vein of advice and counsel. Where in the mastermind, like you mentioned, Spencer, we talk about faith, fitness, family, finances, function, flying, all aspects of my life we can talk about. And the great thing is, some of the guys are really strong in some areas and they're still working on other areas, and so you can take the counsel from the guys that are really strong and know that that's coming from a credible source, and then you can also help out the guys who are struggling in an area where you might be strong. And it's the type of relationship that is mutually beneficial for everybody. And I think the important thing is, when I started it with a couple of my really close friends, is I already had that baseline of trust with them, and that's a big thing. The trust will grow as you get to know them, but for the people that you are just meeting and joining the mastermind for, it'll take a little bit of time to have the vulnerability level go deeper and deeper as you know each other better and as you trust each other more and more. And that simply just takes time. So those are the kind of two different ways that I ended up forming or joining mastermind groups.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I love that you said it's the people who aren't vested in you. So being careful, being weary of those people. Again, your wife, your spouse, whoever that is, should be part of those decisions that you make, right? And hopefully they're there, and you're having conversations and working through things together. But I mean, I love Katie, I love her dearly, but I don't want her part of my mastermind, right? I don't want her part of that, because it's a totally different feel. And to be perfectly honest, I have one that's co-ed, that's more business oriented and all that. And that's fine. But I get more when it's just men, when it's just for me. And so if you're a woman and you're listening or watching, find a women's group or create your own women's group. So
and there's plenty of those that do exist.
Oh my gosh, plenty of them. And and you mentioned, okay, I heard about this one and I decided to join. Well, there's a lot of masterminds that cost money to join, and there's nothing wrong with that and paying for it. That's great. And if you can, for me, when I first heard about this idea and masterminds, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I didn't have the money to invest in it. So what did I do? I looked around me and said, who do I resonate with? Who is on that same vibrational level as me? And what kind of things are we looking to do? And then send out an invitation. Say, hey, I'm thinking about creating this small mastermind group for us. And here's kind of the goals. And, think about how often we meet. Like, we meet once a month for some of them. Some of them are once a week for mine. And we just throw that out there and see what they say. But they're people who I resonate with. And I'm really lucky. Like, we had the one group, it was another guy and I, and then we had another person in it for a year, and that other person just wasn't meshing. It just wasn't, it was fine, but it wasn't as we thought it could go deeper. So then we shifted and let them go. And then we added, after it was just him and I for 2 months or something. And we're like, it'd be nice to have one more person, 3 or 4 tops. And then we brainstormed, well, who would we want out of the people we know? Who would we want? And we're like, oh, this person, we really resonate with them. We feel connected. Let's bring them on. We don't know them maybe super, super well, but we know them well enough and we feel that connection. So great, we'll bring them in. And then we were there, the 3 of us, solid for a year. And then this last, literally 2 weeks ago, we brought in one person, and that person, I knew that person really, really, really well. He's a brother to me. I've gotten to know him over the last 6 months. So I guess not really, really well, but I know him very well, and I consider him a brother. And then I brought it to the other 2 guys, like, I might have an opportunity for you for something, because he was looking for something like this. But I'm like, but I need to check with the group, right? Because it's a group decision. And that's how I introduced it, brought it up, said, hey, what are you thinking? Here's this person. Here's what I think about him, all this. And they're like, if you trust him and you love him and you think this would be beneficial, bring him in, right? So we did. And now we're going through all of those, dropping the walls, dropping the armor, being more vulnerable, but just knowing, like, hey, I trust you and you trust this person. All right, we're gonna bridge that gap and see that. But it has been truly life-changing. So I would say, go see who you resonate with and invite them to join a mastermind group. Maybe you start, or see what other groups are out there, and jump in and try those and see what they're like, and see if it's the right fit. If one isn't fit, doesn't mean that none of them are. There's probably other ones that will fit the bill.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're right. There are advantages to having more people in, because you have more perspective. But then there's also a lot of advantage to having a smaller group, because the intimacy of the group and the level of vulnerability is something that you just can't have with a group that's, like 8, 10, 15, whatever. So that's great advice. And that is more or less exactly how the mastermind that I run is a part of. So that's very cool. Very similar experiences.
Yeah. And this is a cool tangent. One thing I wasn't thinking about chatting about, but I love it.
Yeah. No, it's a great subject. And I think, in the main reason that I sought after a mastermind is because, as I was listening to podcasts of successful people, as I was reading biographies of successful people, businessmen, or, American presidents, or whoever it was, every single one of them had a group of people that filled this function. It wasn't necessarily called a mastermind, but it was a small group of people who, like you said, meshed, who understood each other, who didn't necessarily agree on every single ideology. And I think that is important, but were all there because they were committed to the team, the group, and they were all committed to their own success and becoming the best man or the best person that they could be, so that they could then make the most impact in their family, in their communities, and in their world. Which I was like, man, I mean, literally every single one of these biographies that I'm reading, they all have that group of people that launched them to the point where I'm now reading their biography because they were that successful. And so if I want to have impact on myself and my family and my community, this is something that I've got to have. And it has proved true so far. So
100%. I don't think I've read any successful person's biography or a person's biography that I'm like, holy cow, look how successful they were, whatever field they're in, that they didn't have that group. That it makes such a big difference. And to see like, oh, it's in this person, it's in this person, it's in this person across multiple fields. There has to be something to it. There has to be something about getting the people together. So it's people you mesh with, it's people that you vibrate well with, but doesn't mean you agree on everything. Right. We can have different viewpoints on a lot of different things. And the nice part about that, as long as you can be agreeable and nice and kind to each other, is that, well, now we have different points of view, right? We look at life differently. We look at questions or situations differently, so that, oh, I can offer this insight, and maybe you've never thought of that, and they can do the same thing to me, and that makes this thing really go round and round and round. And so if we want to be successful in our life, our version of successful, whatever that is defined to you, I would strongly suggest getting a mastermind, a group together, whatever you choose to call it, because they will launch you to wherever you want to go so much faster.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's pivot a little bit from talking about masterminds and groups to our attention, because you said this is one of your things that you love looking at. You notice this gap in attention, especially now. We were chatting right before this, the attention of, okay, people say we're on social media all the time and our attention is waning, right? It used to be, I remember in film class in college that, okay, you need to change the clip every 5 seconds or less, right? It's a change of view, change your scene every 5 seconds. And that has gone down since, the 90s and 80s, 70s, where it was a little longer, where our attention span was a little bit more, we could focus a little bit longer. And now it's even less than that. It's almost every second or 2 seconds that we need something to happen for us to keep our interest. And then we were talking, okay, well, now there's this chat technology coming out, AI, and we're seeing even a bigger gap. Talk to me about this. Talk to me about this attention gap, and what is that? I mean, how can we improve our attention, and I don't know, the whole gamut of it.
Spencer, I'm so glad you brought up that metric of the TV shows and movies, or ads, and how many times do they have to switch frames, because it's absolutely true. And it's because nowadays they're competing with so many different mediums for your attention. The dual screening concept of, I'm sitting there watching a TV show while I'm on a second screen, either my laptop or more typically the cell phone. And so in order for them, the TV show producers or movie producers or commercials, or even in sports, to keep your eyeballs up on that screen, they need to be switching, because the novelty, as humans, we seek novelty, and so they need to keep the novelty coming, and they do that by switching scenes at decreasing time intervals. And yeah, you're right. Now it's like that. I don't know the actual metric, but it is definitely less than 3 seconds is the average frame transition or view transition, or whatever it is. And we are so inundated, the designers of the apps on our cell phones, we have, the odds are stacked so far against us, because those big tech companies are paying so much money for the experts to figure out how to exploit our minds and our eyeballs, which our attention is an extension, or our eyeballs, I guess, are an extension of our attention, because typically our attention is wherever our eyeballs are focused. It is so stacked against us, because they're paying millions and millions of dollars to figure out how to specifically grab my attention and not let it go. So this gap, the attention gap that I call it, there's kind of two ways to look at it. There's the societal attention gap, and then there's the personal attention gap. Now, the societal attention gap, as you mentioned, we as technology, as computers have become ubiquitous. I mean, I don't think my refrigerator has a computer in it. I mean, it does at a very low level, but they've got smart refrigerators out there these days. Like it is everywhere, and it's completely infiltrated society. So the low end tasks that used to require many employees to do are now all being automated by computers and robots and everything, which means that the baseline level of expertise that industry needs from human beings is higher than it ever has been, and that's only increasing. I mean, you mentioned Chat GPT, where I can come up with very low level content very easily just by typing it in, and it'll pump it back to me, maybe do a little bit of light editing, and I can pretty much use that. Now, most of us can recognize when it is generated by AI because it's a little bit just the way that it is. It doesn't feel very human. And so there is, it will never take away certain functions of human beings, but that means that as a human, I need to be bringing my A game, because if I'm bringing my B game or C game or D game, then I am no better than what technology can do in just a few seconds. Now, so that's kind of the high end of the attention gap, is the need in industry and society. The low end is the collective attention capabilities of people is decreasing because social media, cell phones, the TV shows that are changing frames every couple seconds, it's pulling at our attention, and it is decreasing the average person's capability, myself included, our ability to just sit there and pay attention to a project or put brain power into solving a problem, or whatever it is. So there's this gap forming, and it is only getting worse, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's getting worse because, and that is why currently there's a shortage of labor. Companies are trying to hire because they cannot find the quality of person that they need to fill the jobs that they need to be filled. And so there's an opportunity for those who want to put in the work to make themselves better to the point where they can fill those jobs. Now, the personal attention gap is similar. And let me give you an example of specifically what I mean by this. So when I was in 8th grade, that's when I decided I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And signing myself up for the goal of being a fighter pilot required a heck of a lot of attention to my grades during high school, my getting into a college that had an ROTC unit, or getting into one of the service academies so that I could get my military commission, getting good grades there in college so that I could be selected for pilot training, getting really good grades and performing really well in pilot training so that I could be selected for a fighter, and so on. And so by having that goal, and most people, thankfully, I was a little bit younger than when most people really figure out what they want to do when they grow up, and that was a blessing. But most of us kind of really know where we want to go. We definitely know a lot of places that we don't want to go. And getting there requires a certain, I mean, even just, simply graduating high school, it requires a certain amount of attention to your studies and to learning the math and the English and the sciences that you need to know to graduate high school. And if you are not willing, or you don't put that amount of attention to get the minimum grades, you won't graduate high school. And I'm sure we all know people who I had a couple friends who got asked to leave college because they did not put in the attention required. At the same time as our attention is getting attacked and hijacked by social media and all those other things video gaming, all those other things that we've mentioned, and it takes discipline to close that personal attention gap. Luckily, I was able to conjure up that discipline that got me to where I am, where I get to fly fighter jets for a living. But that's kind of what the idea of the attention gap is. And again, it provides an opportunity because the bar is lowering, so it doesn't take, and at the same time, we have the power of the internet, where we've got YouTube that can teach you anything, and the Ivy League schools are posting a lot of their lectures online for free that you can just go watch, so you can learn. We have the tools to learn. It is simply finding the discipline to specifically vector your attention towards whatever will make you achieve your goal, and then actually executing that on a consistent basis. That is really the key.
Hey, Energizer, I want to cut in here really quick before you start this episode of the Jonesin For Show to let you know something really, really cool. And that is, we launched another podcast. That's right, we launched another podcast called, you ready? The Daily Energize. That's right, The Daily Energize is available on all streaming platforms, right? So however you like your podcast, go find us. What is the Daily Energize? It is your daily jolt of positivity, of energy, where I offer you tips, tricks, strategies, stories to help you crush your day. All the shows are roughly 5 to 10 minutes long, right? So on your commute to work or in your lunchtime, whenever you want, you could pop it in, listen to it, get a little jolt of energy so you can keep crushing your day. Again, it's called The Daily Energize, and I would love it, absolutely love it and appreciate it if you can subscribe. And heck, share it out with your friends. Give them a little jolt of energy. All right, on to today's episode. So when I think attention, like the first thing when I say, oh, our attention gap or attention, I'm thinking of like, okay, can I focus on this one thing for a minute, 5 minutes, right? Whatever that is. Usually something on the TV or on the internet, or even having a conversation with someone and try not to look at your phone because you're bored, right? Like, let's give them our full undivided attention for a couple minutes. And that is one part of attention.
It is.
But the other part that I did not think of right away, but it is attention when you brought it up, is, oh, what about those goals that we have? What about the vision that where we want to go in life, or the things we want to accomplish, whether that's a day, a week, a month, 5, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, whatever that is. I want to be a fighter jet pilot, right? You can do that. Awesome. Okay, well, it's keeping the attention there and then making that plan. What do I need to do to get there? And still keeping the attention on, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I can't go out and party. I need to be studying. I need to be getting ready. I need to get my sleep. Even now, right? You're talking about making sure the human aspect of the military is at its best. So, okay, what kind of sleep do I need? What's my mindset look like? What am I do? How am I fueling myself? How am I exercising? All of those things, so that your attention is still on the bigger topic, bigger focus. And then you're taking the smaller attention of like, okay, I need to go here. I need to do this. I need to study and not party. I need to whatever that is. Is that what I'm hearing?
It is. You're absolutely right. There are the scientists have kind of come up with 4 different types of attention. You've got spotlight attention, which is just like a spotlight, where that is your mind focusing on one thing specifically. Right now, both you and I and our listeners, our spotlight attention is on this conversation. We're completely focused on this conversation. You've got daylight attention, which is kind of your situational awareness. So right now I'm just sitting in a room and nothing is really moving in this room. But if maybe some of the listeners are driving down the road on their way to work or whatever, while listening to this, their spotlight attention is kind of mixed between the road and then listening to this conversation. But then the daylight attention is, okay, yeah, I just passed whatever road, so I've got two more exits before my exit. Oh, there's a semi truck coming up behind me. You gotta, watch out for him. That's kind of the daylight attention, situational awareness. Then you've got starlight attention, and starlight attention is kind of what I was talking about before, and the distinction that you made. Starlight attention is your goals, your overall mission, and so it's not like spotlight, where it's not, I'm sitting here paying attention to something for 3, 5, a half hour, however long. It is the day-to-day refocusing back on the goal, the starlight attention, and doing that across an amount of time that will actually get you towards your goal. And then the 4th kind is stadium light attention, and that is awareness of people and your interaction with the people around you and your relationships. And because if I am not paying attention to my relationship with my spouse, then that is going to deteriorate over time. And so my stadium, I need to be paying attention to that stadium light, to my relationship with her, to my relationship with my kids and all my friends and my coworkers and everything. And that's that one is kind of a unique type of attention. But so there's the four different types. And I think because I've always been thinking more about the starlight attention, but when you mentioned the specifically paying attention in a specific task where that's the spotlight attention, there is a bit of a gap there too, because like we've been talking about, our capability to sit here and pay attention to a problem has been eroding over time as a collective. So that is I've never really thought about it in that light before. That's really interesting.
Well, I'm glad I could give you that realization.
Yeah.
I've never heard of those 4 areas or 4 types of attention.
Yeah.
So just to recap, see how my memory is. And see if I was paying attention. How about that? So we have spotlight attention. So that's when you're focusing on one specific thing. Listening to this podcast, I'm cooking and I'm focused on cooking or those things. Yep. Then you have I'm thinking it's an expanding light, right? So you have your spotlight, and then you have your daylight. So the situational awareness kind of, so like, okay, I'm in this room, but I heard my dog clicking outside the door. Maybe exactly. Those types of things. And then getting broader from daylight, not nighttime, but your starlight. So go to the night sky. You got that star. They're in the distance. There are things that are a little farther away, or a lot farther away, and you're working towards those things, getting closer to that star, to that destination. And I was thinking universe was going to be the next one or something like that, and then you threw me off and said stadium. I'm like, okay, that works too. But then basically how your energy, your self relates to other people, other energies of people around you. So your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, the clerk at the supermarket, how your energy interacts with everybody else, and being aware of basically how you fit in with the rest of this world kind of thing.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Stadium light is the last one. Yeah. It's kind of a cool way to think about it, because you can sit there and you can be like, all right, I need to put my spotlight attention onto this right now, which means I need to do that at the expense of a little bit of daylight attention. So, reducing my attentional, I guess, pointing or allocation to situation awareness, reducing it to the long-term goal, because I need to just focus on this specific task or whatever's in front of me right now, or this conversation right now. And at the expense of other people, maybe I need to put that sign on my door that says, hey, this is my flow. I'm in my flow zone. So, don't interrupt. I will open my door in an hour or whatever it is. And then in that hour, now you're refocusing your attention from spotlight attention now to stadium light attention when you walk around the office or you interact with your family. When I get home from work, at work, I'm doing a lot of spotlight attention or starlight attention, but then I get home and I need to be in stadium light attention and paying attention to my family. And there might be, some instances of spotlight attention where, all right, I need to cook dinner or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of a tool that you can use to figure out where you need to be directing your attention, and then where you need to be spending less of your attention and kind of blocking out, which is really interesting and helpful.
So we're not necessarily focused just on one, like, we always need to be spotlight. We always need to be these other things. It's always a blend of the two, and moving, transitioning between the two. I'm thinking back on my life, and I know people. I can name people off the top of my head. I'm not going to on here, but I can name people who were all spotlight, right? They were omnifocused, as I always called them, like, they're omnifocused. Where I remember one was a boss of mine I had. And I would walk by him in the hallway and I would say good morning to him, whatever, after getting there at work. He wouldn't say hi to me. He wouldn't say good morning, nothing. Right. He was just omnifocused on, this is a task at hand. This is what I need to do. Yep. And I mean, and he had all the awarenesses, but the majority of the time he was an omnifocus. But we've also known people who are all starlight, and maybe all steam, but especially all starlight, where it's just like, okay, I'm over here, all these big things, but yet I can't get the stuff done to make that a reality because I can't focus enough to do this. So my question is, how can we improve our focuses or our attention? Focus and attention. How can we improve that in our life?
Great question. A couple ways. And this is something that I've been learning more and more recently. So everything within our human performance, and attention is just a portion of human performance.
Mm.
It all starts with your sleep, and your sleep starts the day before, specifically the night before, getting ready for it. But I mean, think about it. We've all woken up after a night of sleep and just felt like we could take on the world. And on those days, you sit down at your desk and you just crush some work, and then you get up and you have great conversations with your coworkers or your friends or whoever, and then you're focusing on the overall goal, and you're like, yep, this is exactly what I need to do. And then you sit down and you crush some more work in the afternoon, and then it's overall just a great day. And then we've all had those days. I had mine. I was traveling, which I think was part of it, but horrible night. I could not fall asleep for whatever reason, and then I wake up, fairly early the next morning because I had whatever I was doing that day to get up for, and I woke up and I was just like, man, that was a terrible night of sleep. And the whole day I'm kind of just dragging, and it is taking significant effort to conjure up the energy to focus on what I need to focus on. Everything is taking longer than I feel like it should, which just makes everything more frustrating. So finding the ways to get that good sleep the night before is going to, everything starts with sleep. And most people, most Americans, most first world country livers, we are going around on chronic sleep deprivation, which is putting a huge tax on our decision-making capabilities, our complex problem-solving capabilities, our attentional capabilities. I mean, just about everything. And we all, like I just said, we all have experienced this. Some people are generally better than others, and some people are worse. And I would say that the people who are generally worse off, if you really struggle with paying attention throughout the day, and every day is kind of a struggle to wake up in the morning and a struggle to get out the door and all that, think back. Let's peel back the onion. What are your pre going to bed kind of actions? Are you eating late into the night? Because that's bad, because then your body is spending energy on processing the food that you just ate instead of on repairing your body and your mind overnight. Is it you're not drinking enough water? Because that is also another big baseline. Your body needs water. And if it doesn't have that water, then it doesn't have what it needs to repair. And it also will help you flush out the toxins and be more healthy. Are you on your screen late into the night / even into bed? And that there's a lot of science on that, and I won't go into it because you can read up on it yourself, but that will give you poor sleep if you're on a device, whether it's the TV or whether it's your cell phone, late into the night. I think they recommend like at least 1 hour, and the hardcore guys recommend like 2 to 3 hours of no screen before bed. But here's the thing, everybody's different. So my challenge for you, Spencer, and for anybody else who wants to really improve their attention capabilities, pick one thing that you're going to do. And I would recommend that it is to work on your sleep. And probably the best way to work on your sleep is to set a specific go to bed time, set a specific get up time, and then in the little bit prior to going to bed, don't eat anything, drink a little bit of water, and don't be on screens. And then just do that for a little bit and see how it improves. And I guarantee just about everything, but specifically your attention, will improve drastically in just even the course of a couple of days. I mean, one good night's sleep, we all know what that feels like, and we all know that we're like just ready to freaking crush the day that next day. So
it's freaking amazing.
That's the thing about humans. Everything ties into everything else. So like how bad you eat, how well you exercised, how little or how much you drink water or alcohol or sugar, it all plays into everything. And that's why as humans, when we get on that, like, have a, what do they call that? The
cheat day type thing?
The cheat day. Yeah. When you have your cheat meal, it's so much easier to then have a cheat day, which is so much easier it's just like the rolling, boulder down the hill that just keeps picking up speed and picking up, all of the junk and everything on the way down. And then it's the farther down it goes, the harder and the more energy it takes to stop it and then start rolling it back up the hill. Yeah, everything is so intertwined, but it all starts with the sleep. If we can nail down our sleep, and I have 100% seen that in my life. When I am getting good sleep, I got energy. My attention is so much better. It's amazing, because that's when your body's repairing. I mean, we were designed to have to sleep for a third of our lives because our minds and our bodies need to repair.
Right.
You can't just like keep crushing yourself and expect to get up the next day after marginal sleep and crush it again.
Well, and I'm always amazed how many people that run on 3-4 hours of sleep. I can run on 4 hours. I'm better on 4 hours of sleep. I'm like, I don't know how you do it. I've tried. Like I used to, like when I was in college. I've always been pretty good about sleep, like 6, 7, 8-ish hours, kind of. But even back in college, and then I'm like, well, oh my gosh, all these people are saying they run on 4 hours of sleep. Like maybe I'll try that. Like then I can go to school and practice more. So I tried it, right? So I did like 2 days in a row of like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Not only was I tired, by the third day, 2 nights of doing it, I got sick. 2 nights in a row, got sick.
Yep.
And then a couple weeks, I got better, and I slept and made sure I got enough sleep and all that, and was feeling good. So then I tried it again, like 2 months later, sick again. And I'm like, okay, I'm never doing less than 6 hours a night, 2 nights in a row, if I can ever help it. And I think that research shows, and I could be wrong, but I think it shows that under 6 hours of sleep, for every hour less than 6 hours, it's like you've had 1 beer. That's how you function throughout the day.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And
like you've had a beer all day, like all day long. You're at that level. Yeah. Right.
All day. I mean, and okay, people, I can handle my alcohol. Good for you.
Yeah.
But it's still impairing your decisions and all of that as you go through that. And then a day and day again, you're not healing your body. You're not allowing your body and your mind, your brain to heal, to repair, to process the thoughts and all the stuff it needs to do. It's so important. So I love that you mentioned that's probably like the biggest tip you could share is to get that sleep. And as you said, the blue light and from the screens and all of that, and the brain waves that are happening at that time makes a huge difference. So when I started really getting into it, I changed my night routine. So I try to get 7 to 8. Usually ends being around 7.5, which is perfect because our bodies generally run on a 90-minute sleep cycle. So I try for 7.5 hours every night. And okay, so I have a bedtime. We shut the TV off around 8 o'clock, and then because we might be watching a show or movie, shut it off, brush our teeth, do whatever, go upstairs, and then we read. And so we read for that 40 half hour, 45 minutes after taking care of the dogs and cats, blah blah blah. And I shut my light off and go to bed right about 9. I wake up a little bit before 5 a.m. so that then I'm ready to go, and I go work out and all those things then to help set up my day with my morning routine. But I make sure, like, okay, I have an hour away from a screen. I try not to look at my cell phone. I still struggle with that. So, but I read. So I have that system set up. I brush my teeth, take care of all that stuff. Read. Not on a Kindle, not on a device, but an actual book.
Physical book.
Right, physical book. And that has changed how my energy is drastically, where I feel alive, I feel energized. People say, how do you have all this energy? It's a number of things, but one of the key ones is sleep. Sleep.
It is a number of things. Yeah. I have a similar routine, and I always trying to, there's the days that you do better, and there's the days that you do worse. Always striving to do better. I will give one other more tactical tip on how to improve attention. This is something that I use all the time regardless of if I'm having a great day or if I'm having a poor day, is when I have a specific task that I needed to do. First off is kill all the distractions. So shut off the email on the computer if you're working on the computer. And then what I do is I set a timer for typically no more than 20 minutes. So 15 to 20 minutes. And when that timer is going, as I get distracted, inevitably I'm gonna look at my watch or remember, hey, I'm on time. Boom, right back to whatever task that I was doing. Yeah, you're gonna have people walk by your desk or whatever. There's going to be distractions that pop up. But for me, and I think for many people, this technique works. Having that timer going and making a contract with yourself, with myself, that hey, I'm setting a timer for the next 20 minutes. This is the project that I'm working on. If I finish it before 20 minutes, good to go. Take a break, go walk around, say hi to somebody, or just jump right into the next thing. If you're feeling good and you want to keep getting those wins. If it takes longer than 20 minutes though, and you're not done, that 20-minute mark or 15 or whatever it is, is a good time to stop. Maybe you do have to check email. Maybe you do have to get up and go to the bathroom and get the heart rate going just a little bit, but then come back to it and then set another timer. Okay, I think it'll only take me 10 more minutes to finish, so let me set the 10-minute timer and get it done. That has worked really well for me, and it's something that I do regularly. Is set the timer.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was so excited. I was hoping you were going to bring this up because it's tied so close to attention. So it's called the Pomodoro effect. If anyone doesn't know, I'm sure you do it. Pomodoro effect. And it's really cool because what the research shows is I can't remember the percentage, but you are much, much more productive when you set yourself a timer, eliminate distractions, and focus 15, 20, 25 minutes is usually tops. And then you give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to do something else. You break your attention. You don't think about the thing. You don't do the thing. You focus elsewhere. So you go for a walk. I let my dogs out because I work at home, all those things. And that's a huge help. You can find Pomodoro timers online. You can get like a tomato timer type thing and set that, whatever it is to help you. Your watch works. I love weird, quirky things. So I actually ordered this really cool clock that's kind of shaped like a nut. It's a pentagon. And so what it is, so it shows the time, but what's cool is, so I could turn it on one side and now it's a timer for 5 minutes.
Dang.
And now if I turn it that way, it's, that's 15 minutes, 20, 30.
No way.
And so then I just set it down. Cool. And then it counts down. And then when it reaches its timer, it beeps at me. So I go, oh, okay, now it's the time. And then you just flip it back to wherever you want to go. So then I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go off, do my thing, come back, and I can flip it over. And it has helped me get so much done, stay focused, and accomplish a lot more. But check it out. Check out the research. Pomodoro effect. That's like Pomorod. It's O's. So you can figure it out. But check it out. And it's really cool. I want to be respectful of your time, Wes. This has been truly, truly incredible. Talking about masterminds, talking about attention, and how we could be at our best so we can live our life to the max. Holy crap. How can people connect with you, get to know you, your mastermind, and all the stuff you are doing?
I've had a blast today too, Spencer. I'm going to be running on this energy for the rest of the day. Best way to get a hold of me, weswoodhouse.com. So WES and then Woodhouse, just like it sounds.com. I'm on there. I am on LinkedIn, but I typically try to stay away from a lot of the socials. So best way, you can contact me from the website, sign up for like a 15-minute phone call or whatever. I'd love to get to know you and to talk about it. The last thing I'd like to leave everybody with is, and I said it a couple times throughout purposely, is the phrase pay attention, because all throughout the day, we are constantly paying our attention. By listening to us here, Spencer, by you talking to me and me talking to you, we both paid our attention for the last 45 minutes to an hour to each other and to this conversation. And everybody who's listening was paying their attention to us. And it is transactional, because you are getting value from where you paid attention, and we are also getting value from you paying attention to us. And it's the same going throughout your day. When you pay attention to a specific project you're working on, or when I get home and I pay attention to my wife and my children, that is a transaction. And if I don't do that, I'm withdrawing from the emotional or relational bank account. And when I do, I'm making deposits, because it is a transaction and they feel it and I feel it as well. So the last thing you hear the phrase all the time, in high school, pay attention or whatever. And we say it, that phrase is in the Bible. It's everywhere. We are constantly paying our attention. So thinking about where we are paying our attention is what's key. This is a great time, Spencer. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And I love, love, love that takeaway, because, so many other folks, okay, what are we paying finances wise? We're penny pinching, we're watching our budgets, doing all that, especially, recession and all this crazy stuff. Like, okay, well, we pay other things too. And paying our attention is one thing that we always do. Are we intentional about who we're paying it to and how we're doing that?
Yes. So
I love it. Love it, brother. Thank you so much for being you, sharing your life. Everyone, check out weswoodhouse.com. If you can't find that or you don't want to look for it, just go to, this is going to be harder for you, but go to spencermjones.com/Jonesin For Show. weswoodhouse.com would be a heck of a lot easier, but you know how where I can't talk, where we are at. So come find us, click on this link, get the show notes, get his links. all that stuff, connect with Wes. He's an amazing guy. Hop on a 15-minute call. That's what I did at first and got to know him. And he's a brother for life. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you, Wes. So thank you again. Appreciate you. And to all the Energizers, keep being you. Keep shining your light. Pay attention and be aware of what you're paying your attention to. So until next time, we'll catch you later.